Hello everyone, welcome back. In today's session, we shall discuss about the S4HANA bank account management. Bank account management is a new concept that has been introduced by SAP in S4HANA. This was not present in ECC, and bank account management is used for various purposes like creation of banks, house banks, and all other bank related configurations which were earlier used to be done in FI01 or FI12 or FBZP in ECC versions. So today let us see how this is different from ECC, and also we shall see into the configurations for automatic payment programs in detail. Let us jump into the system. So let us start by going into FBZP. So we know that FBZP is the customizing for the automatic payment program. Here we create the house banks and we give the ranking of the house banks and all other settings which we require for the payment program. In S4HANA, the creation of house banks is now a part of the bank account management. And under this one, the creation of house banks is moved to Fiori. Although we can still configure the house banks by using GUI transaction codes. We're having different transaction codes like FI12 underscore H bank. So using this transaction code, we can create house banks in S4HANA. Earlier in ECC, we used to directly create the house banks from FBZP, but now in S4HANA, we're having a new set of transaction codes and also a Fiori interface for creating the house banks. So let us try creating few house banks. We will try both from GUI as well as from Fiori. So let me start by creating this from GUI. So in this FI12 underscore house bank, which is H bank, this transaction code, let us try to create one new house bank. So I will give the house bank as FC1 bank country. So I'm giving some random bank key. So let me go to create. So this bank number, we need to maintain this configurations for the bank number in SPRO. So depending upon this settings which we maintain in SPRO, this bank number can be equal to bank key, or we can manually enter the bank number externally. So let us go and check the settings. In SPRO, under SAP Net Viewer, under SAP Gateway, sorry, under General Settings, Set Countries, under Set Country Specific Checks. In this one, if you go to the respective country settings, here we can see that the bank key is having a value as assigned externally. So here there are various other settings. The bank key can be equal to the bank number, or we can assign it externally, or it can be an automatic number that generates internally. Or there can also be a configuration wherein we do not want to use the bank key by choosing obsolete. So in our settings, it is selected as assign externally. So bank key and the bank number are entered differently. So if we see the bank number length, it is of maximum 15 digits, and for the bank key, it is maximum 11 digits without any caps. So let us go back to the configurations of the house bank. So bank number, I will enter some random bank number and save it. Okay, this is the region. I will enter it as 36. Save. So now we saw how we can create the bank account from the GUI. Now let us go to Fiori. So we are having managed bank accounts and managed banks. So these are the two main transactions that we use in Fiori for creating the house banks and also the necessary bank accounts that we require. So first, let me go into managed banks. So here we are having an option for create bank. So let us try to create a new bank. So create new bank is nothing but the FI01 transaction code that we used to use in ECC. Earlier, while we were trying to create the house bank from GUI, we have directly created the house bank. So the system will automatically in the background create a bank also for that particular house bank. So let us create a house bank again here. This process in Fiori is a bit different from what we have earlier did in GUI. So let us check the bank country. So let me give a bank key. So you can assign the banks to any bank category. You can also create and group the banks using the bank group. So in S4HANA, the bank can also be created as a business partner by using a role called bank. So here, if we select any business partner grouping for this one, then once we create the house bank, automatically a business partner will also be created for that particular bank. So I'm not doing that at this point as we do not require that for our settings for automatic payment program. So let us continue with the creation of house bank. So I have given some random branch name for this one. So we have created the bank. Okay. We also need to give the bank number because we have checked the settings in SPRO. The bank number is not automatically populated based on the bank key. So for the bank number, I have given some bank number. Okay. Now if you see, we are having various settings for this one. Now we are having a section called house banks. In the house banks, we need to configure this particular bank which we have created as a house bank. So let me go to the edit option. And if I click this plus button, now I can add this particular bank as a house bank for any company code. Let us check. So it is asking the company code. I will give my company code and I need to give a house bank name. So as this is Access Bank, I will give it as Access 1. Okay, the alternative bank ID and all are not necessary. Let me give some bank number. And we should also have an account that we are holding at this bank. So this account number is not the GL account number, rather this is the account number that we are holding at this house bank. So let me give one random number. Save. So we have successfully created the house bank. Let me go back. So here we are having another setting like display bank accounts. So if you remember in the steps of creating the house bank for automatic payment program, after creating the house bank, we need to assign an account ID for that house bank. So this is where we will add the account number or the account ID for that particular house bank. So here, let me go to the more settings and create a new bank account. So first we have created the bank, and after that we have added that bank as a house bank for the particular company code. And now we are trying to add few account numbers or the account IDs for that particular house bank. So first it is asking the account number. So I have given some random account number and the account description. I have given some account description. Bank country. So we have created this bank key earlier, and the currency. So for now I will take the currency as INR. So what is the account type? Account type I will take as current account. We can take it as various options, be it a saving account or an investment account, any account. So I will take as 02 current account. So we need to give an account holder name. Okay. Account holder name is automatically populated from the company code name. So I'm not giving any Iban for this one because in India Iban is not used. Okay. Now let us go to the section called House Bank Account Connectivity. So here if you see, let me create a new entry. So here this house bank account is the account ID that we will be seeing in the FBZP settings. So let me give as access 1, and I'm not giving any additional ID. So this GL account here is the bank account or the GL account that we are creating as a replica for the account that we are holding at the bank. This is not the bank sub GL account, but rather this is the bank account or the GL account which is the replica of the account that we are holding at the bank. So this maintains all the transactions and the balance of the accounts that we are holding at the bank. So for this one, let me go to GUI and create a bank account. So this account is hidden whenever we are having some incoming payments on this particular bank account. So when incoming payments are done, then this bank account will be credited because the balance in the bank account increases. So this GL account, which we are giving here in the house bank, will be debited. So let me go to FS00 and let me create a bank account for this one. It's a balance sheet account. I will take it as liquid funds, short text, Access Bank, main account. I'll take it as main account 1. So balances in local currency. Sort key I will give as posting date. The field status group let me take as bank accounts, and it is relevant to cash flow. Same. So similarly, okay, later on we will create the GL account that we require as the bank sub GL account, which we will be providing in the bank sub GL account in FBZP. So now let us go back to the configurations of house bank. So here I will give it as C007. Okay. So this is done and save it. Save. So if we recap the steps that we have followed in Fiori, at first we went into the tile manage bank and we have created a bank, and that bank we have assigned it as a house bank for the particular company code. Later on, we have added an account to that particular company code or the account that we are holding at that particular bank in that particular house bank. So after creating an account in the house bank, we again added an account ID for this one. So let us assume that we are having a second bank account in the same bank which we will be using for different currencies. We have already created one account with one house bank ID, and that we are using for the currency INR. So if we want to deal with the transactions happening in non-INR, or for example currency US dollar, then we can have another account in the same bank. For that one, we need to create another account, and we will add an account ID for this one. And in the configurations for automatic payment program, we shall use this two different account IDs for two different currencies or different payment methods. So let me again go back to the same bank which we have created, and I'll go to display bank accounts. So here I will create another bank account. Let me go to the more options and let us create a new bank account. So this time I'll take another account ID. I will use this account for the US dollar related transactions. So the bank country is IN. This is the bank key that we have created, and I will give the account currency as US dollar. And the company code is Avin, and the account type I will take it again as current account. Now we shall go to the house bank account connectivity. So we have created the account now. Now that we again need to link to the house bank to create an account ID. So let me add a new entry. So the account ID this time I will keep it as access U for the US dollar, or I'll just keep it as access dollar. Now we need to create another GL account. So here you can use the same GL account which we have created in the previous step. So we have created a GL account in currency INR for the bank account that we are holding in INR at Axis Bank. You can use the same GL account, but it would be advisable to create a new GL account for different currencies. So now let me go to FS00 and let me copy this account and let me create it as a new account. So this one, main account in US dollars. Control data, I will maintain this as US dollar, and everything remains the same. Okay, sorry. So display in local currency should be removed for this one because the account is not in the local currencies. So here we will give it as C0009 and save it. So in our current setup, we are having a bank, Axis Bank, which is a house bank, and we are having two accounts holding at that particular bank. One account is in currency INR and another account is in currency US dollar. And each account is having a different account ID. Save again the bank settings and the account settings. So we are done with the house bank configurations for one house bank, which is the Axis Bank. But earlier we have created via GUI a house bank, which is HDFC Bank. So that one we have just created the house bank account, but we did not create any account numbers. So now we can do that either from, for example, if we go to this one, so I can go to F112. So F112, here you can see the same thing which we have configured using Fury. So we are having different house banks. We are having Axis Bank. We have created HDFC Bank. So Axis we have created via Fury. If we check this one, so here it says it's only a read access, because as we discussed in the beginning, all the settings related to the bank are now a part of bank account management, which should be done via Fury by using a managed bank or the managed bank account styles. So we have created two different accounts, one for US dollar and one for INR. So here if you see, the first one is the US dollar account, and the second one is INR account. So here the account ID is access 1, and for dollar it is access dollar. So for HDFC, if we check, we did not create any bank accounts. So if we click on create bank account, it just redirects us to the same Fury screen which we were seeing earlier. As we are already having open, I will close this one. So if we see, so we are having managed banks. Let me go back and let me select the HDFC Bank. So this is the bank that we have created. You can verify the same. It is HDFC 00001. So let us check the house bank. So the house bank is already created because in GUI we have directly created the house bank, and SAP has created the bank account in the background. Now let us go to display bank accounts. Here we cannot see any display accounts, the bank accounts, because we did not create it. So if you see, it says no items found. Now let me go to more settings and let us create a bank account. So account number, bank country, so I will say this for INR. We will link this bank account to the company code. Account type, I will take it as current account. And now let us link it with the house bank. So in this house bank, let me create one account, HDFC1 as the account ID, and let us create another GL account for this one. So let us change this name for this one. As we are maintaining this as INR account, I will maintain it as INR. Let me copy this account. The rest all remains same. Save it. Similarly, I will also create another account for the US dollar for this one. say. So it is C010 and C011. So for this one, I will give the account as C010 and apply. So we have created one account in the house bank HDFC. Now let us try creating another account. So I will create a new bank account. This time I will take some other account number. Bank country, bank key. Account description, I will give it as HDFC Iban USD, US dollar. Company code is AVIN. Account type is 02. The house bank account connectivity. Create a new entry. I will take this one as HDFC dollar and C011 US dollar. So now we have created two house banks, and in each house bank we are holding two accounts at the bank, and for each of this account that we're holding at the bank we have linked a bank account, not a bank sub GL account but a bank account. In further settings we can try to understand in depth what is the difference between the bank GL account and the bank sub GL account. So we have created two accounts, one for INR and one for US dollar at each bank, and we assigned different account IDs for each of these accounts. So now we are done with the settings of creating the house banks. Now let us continue with the other settings which we require for the automatic payment program. All other settings for the automatic payment program have not changed from ECC except the house banks. So we saw house banks, how we need to create house banks using the bank account management. Now coming to the remaining settings for the automatic payment program, the first thing is we're having all company codes. So here we need to define what is the sending company code and the paying company code for the particular company code. I have already created, but let us discuss what are the settings. So sending company code. In case of scenarios where there are group companies and one company will be sending the goods or one company will be sending the invoices and another company will be making the payments. So in such cases, for this particular company code, we can define a company code A as the sending company code. So I am doing a transaction or a vendor is doing a transaction via company code AVIN, but the vendor will be receiving the confirmations or the vendor needs to send the invoices to a company code AV01 probably. So in that case, we'll give it as AV01. And if the payment is made from some other company code, the sister company of this particular company, which may be AV02, in that case, we will give the paying company code as AV02. But in our case, the paying and the sending company codes are same. So I will give it as AVIN. And this setting, so if you want in the payment run, if you want to create a different payments for the invoices that belongs to different business areas, then you need to enable this one. And it also, we can also segregate or separate the payments based on the business place. And this is tolerance. So what is tolerance days for payment? We are aware of the payment terms. So for each and every transaction involved with the vendor, there will be a payment terms in which it will be agreed on the due date within which the payment needs to be done. So the tolerance days for payable says whenever we are creating any invoice it should be considered for the payment only after this particular value that we are giving here. So it says specifies the number of days by which cash discount periods and the periods for the due date of the payment may be exceeded. For example, as per the payment terms, any invoice booked today needs to be paid within 2 days, and here if we are giving a value of 2, then even if you try to post the invoice before the 2 days, it will take the maximum as this value. So it says when determining the due date, the system adds the number of days specified here to the dates. Payment is then sometimes made after the exact date in terms of payment. So depending upon the value here and depending upon the date on which the payment run is executed for that particular invoice, the payment may also be made after the agreed due date based on the tolerance days that is given here. Similarly, we can also mention the cash discounts, and we can also mention what are the special GL transactions that will be paid to the vendors. In my case, I have taken as down payment requests and down payments. So this is the setting for all company codes. Now, we already saw in the previous step what is a paying company code. So here we need to configure the settings for the paying company code. In our case, as it is same, so I'm configuring the same for this company code. So here we can define what is the minimum amounts that needs to be paid for incoming payments and the outgoing payments. So either you can leave this as blank, or as per the business requirements, there can be a value given. So if you do not want to post any exchanges differences based on the foreign currency invoices, then this needs to be enabled. Or similarly for the partial payments, if you do not want the exchange rate differences, then we can enable this option. So based on the reference number in the invoices, I want the payment to be made, a separate payment to be made for the set of the invoices with a different reference number. So I have enabled this option. And we can also make payments for the bill of exchanges by enabling this option for this particular company code. So payment methods in country. So payment methods in country define the different payment methods that are available in that particular country. So if we see already in India, there are various payment methods that are configured, check, cash payment or anything. So let me try to copy one of this one. So we'll copy this one and we will give the payment method as 1 and we will give it as check Avin. So we need to define whether this is an outgoing payment or an incoming payment. So in our case, as we are doing an automatic payment program or for the vendors, so I will take this check as outgoing payment. So the payment method classification, it is check. And here if you see the required master record specifications, here we need to define what data needs to be present in the business partner of that particular vendor for the payment to be successful. For example, for check, one might not need an account number of that particular vendor to whom the payment needs to be done, but one might require the address details of that particular vendor. So here we enabled that the vendor needs to have street, post office box or post office box postcode details present in the vendor. So we will see this while we are adding these payment methods in the vendor. So what I will do is I will add bank details and I will mention that the account number is also a required field in the BP, the business partner, for this particular payment method. So here we can use some payment forms, the payment forms in which this payment medium is created or the check needs to be printed for all this. We can maintain some standard payment forms. So this is usually done by the ABAPers based on the requirements. So I will save this. So I have created one payment method as check 1. Let us also take something else. I will take this bank transfer. Bank transfer, I will copy this one and I'll mention it as 2. I'll mention it as bank transfer Avin. And I'm not changing anything. So okay, I'll also make this street and post office box mandatory for this one. Or else let us remove this one so that we can edit the business partner and check what kind of error does F110 throw in case this master record specifications are not met. So here we also have the document types that are to be posted to be used while making the postings for the document type for payment and as well as the clearing type. So these document types needs to be maintained. The number range needs to be maintained for this document type in this particular company code. So let us go to SPRO F5. So under financial accounting, global settings, document, document types, define document types. So here we are having ZA and ZB. Sorry, ZP and ZB. So for ZP, let me check what is the number range. It is 20. Let us verify if it is created. Yeah, we are having the number range 20 verified for this one. And for the clearing document type, which is ZB, the number range is again 20. So this is already present. So we are also sure that the number ranges are maintained for these document types in our company code. So we have created two payment methods, 1 and 2, one for check and 2 for bank transfer. Now here if we see, we are having other options like what are the currencies that are permitted for this particular payment method. So if we want to restrict that the check payment needs to be done only in a particular set of currencies, we can mention those currencies here. We can add a new entry and we can add INR. I will add US dollar and save it. Even if you do not mention anything here, then every currency will be accepted for this particular payment method. Destination countries, again here we can see. Now this depends on to which country we are making the payment or which country the vendor belongs. So if the vendor belongs to a different currency, for example UK, and we are not mentioning that country here in the set of permitted destination countries, then the payment run fails. If it now we are not mentioning anything here, so that means we are not restricting this payment based on the country. Similarly, for the other payment method, we can see that only currency INR is allowed. So I'm not changing this one because we can try posting an invoice with this payment method for a different currency other than INR and check what kind of error does F110 throw. Destination countries, again there is no restriction. So save. Now we have defined payment methods that are being used in the country. Now not necessarily every company needs to use all the payment methods in that country. So there might be some restrictions based on the payment methods that a particular company code uses. So if we go to payment methods in company code and if we check our company code, we are having only two payment methods, which is C and T, but we are not having this new payment methods which we have created. So let us try to add entry AVIN. I'll just copy the previous entries and let us try to change it. So I'll copy these two entries. So this is for the payment method 1, which is for check, and here we are defining what is the minimum amount and the maximum amount that needs to be considered for this particular payment method. So any amount or an invoice with any amount out of this range will not be considered for the payment method using this payment using this payment method. So for this one I will mention the minimum amount of 1000 and the maximum amount I'll probably put as 20,000, or I'll put as 1 lakh. So we are mentioning that the foreign business partners are allowed and everything. We are also having some default SAP scripts forms for the check methods. And we're also having some text that we want to print on the payment medium which will be created for this one. So one we have created, and the second entry I will create for the bank transfer. I'm leaving it as it is. We are not having any minimum and maximum amounts for this one. So irrespective of the amount, each and every invoice will be considered for payment using this payment method. Save. So we have defined the payment methods in country and we are using those payment methods in the company code. Now coming to the main step, which is bank determination. So there are various configurations that we need to do under the bank determinations. First one, we need to define what are the house banks that we are holding for this particular company code and in what order the payment run program needs to consider these house banks based on the different payment methods. So let me go to the ranking order. So here we need to define the order of the steps, the order in which the house bank needs to be picked. So in our case, we are having various accounts we are holding at each bank and we want to use these based on the different payment methods and different currencies. So let us create new entries. So for payment method check and for currency INR, so first I want the system to order as done and I want the system to check the funds in the house bank HDFC. So if the funds are not available in HDFC, then for the same payment method and for the same currency, I want it to verify in Axis Bank. Now, similarly for the second payment method, which is the bank transfer, and for INR, again I want to do the same. Or let me take the reverse order. I will take it as first it needs to verify in Axis Bank, and if not found, then for the same currency, I want it to verify in HDFC. Now, let us go to the US dollar. So for US dollar, I will give as first it needs to verify in Axis Bank, and then it needs to verify in HDFC. So here again I will give reverse. First it needs to verify in HDFC and then it checks in Axis Bank. So this is how we define the ranking for each and every house bank that we are having. So now let us go to bank accounts. So now we have just defined the rank in which the system needs to pick the bank accounts or the house banks, and in each house bank we have created multiple account IDs. So that order we need to mention here. So let me create a new entry for the house bank HDFC1, for the payment method 1, which is check, and for currency INR I will give the account ID as HDFC1 because this one we have created for INR, and here we need to mention the bank sub account. So earlier we discussed that in house bank we need to give a GL account which represents or which acts as the same replica of the account that we are holding at the bank. This account, which we are calling it as bank account or the bank GL account, it will maintain the balance and it will record the transactions to keep an update on the balance that we are having in the bank. But bank sub account is something that we use in the payment program for clearing the payments. So while we are making an outgoing payment, this account gets hit, and while we are making an incoming payment which is changing the balance, then it directly hits the bank account that we give in the house bank while we are creating the account ID. So for this one, let me try to create an account. So let us create an account. The balance sheet. Okay, this is HDFC. Out account. That means for all the outgoing payments, this will be used as the sub GL account, the bank sub GL account. So I will put it as the balance in local currency. And for field status group, I will take as bank accounts relevant to cash flow. And here we are giving the house bank details. So I will maintain it as HDFC1 and this is also HDFC1. Save. Similarly, I will also create for other banks and other currencies. This one will be HDFC dollar. This is for US dollar. And now let us also create for the Axis Bank. So this is Axis dollar. So we are having 4 accounts that we have created as the sub-GL accounts. So from C012 to C015. So for this one, it should be C012 HDFC INR account, and now HDFC1 for the payment method, same for 1. If we want to perform any invoices on US dollar, and the account ID is HDFC dollar, and the account is C013. HDFC dollar C013. Similarly, we also need to create entries for other currencies and the other payment methods. So let me create for other payment method. Similarly, or else I will save this and I'll just copy this one for the other payment method. Okay. So access 1, payment method 1, INR, access 1, C014, access 2, payment method 1, US dollar, access dollar, C015. So it is again access 1. Okay, there is no copy, so we will also create the same entries for the payment method 2, which is the bank transfer. For INR, it is HDFC1. I use the same sub-GL account. For US dollar, HDFC dollar C013. Payment method 2 for INR, access 1, C014. Access dollar C015. Save. So now we understood what is the difference between the sub-GL account or the bank sub-GL account and the bank account. And now we are done with the bank accounts. So let us go to the available amounts. So initially, while we are creating the house banks, we need to mention to the system that what is the available balance in that particular account that we are holding at the bank. Based on this available amount, the system keeps a track of the balance that we're holding at the bank. So let me create a new entry. So we are having two banks, HDFC 1 and two accounts at each bank. So HDFC 1. So here days define the number of days that the system takes to process the payments that are done in this particular combination of house bank and account ID. So for example, with this combination, I have made a payment run today. So if the days is given as 1 or 2, so that means that the funds in this particular bank account will be available only after 2 days from the payment run. So although the payment run will be executed successfully today, the clearing happens after 2 days because the funds will not be immediately available in the bank. So I'm giving it as 0 so that the funds will be immediately available, and the currency is INR. I will give it as, or let me give it as 1 million. And for the US dollar, I will give it as 50,000. So for Axis Bank, for INR, I will give it as 1 lakh. So let me give the payment days as 1. And for US dollar, I will give it as 10,000. Save. So for the value days also, here we can mention the same settings, like what is the amount limit that needs to be used for this combination of payment method and the house bank. So for this particular payment method, I will take house bank as Axis 1, the amount limit. Two, okay, method 1, Axis 1. Or else what is the amount? Let me check what they have given here. So for HDFC, they have given this. Okay. So let me maintain the same thing here. So in the available amounts, this is not something that we defined with the combination of payment method. But whereas in the value date, this is something that also considers the payment method for this values. So whatever amount that we are giving here, so if the invoice is within this range, then we can give the days to value date. This value date will be picked up for the payment. But if the value of the invoice is below the amount that we have mentioned here, and if the invoice is also using the combination of the payment method and the house banks. So this is to do with the value date, but I am not maintaining any value dates here. So let us save it. So now we are done with the settings of maintaining the banks. So the next step is whatever the payment methods that we have created that needs to be given in the business partner for that particular vendor. So I am already having a business partner which is having the roles of FI vendor and the purchase vendor. So I'll go to the company code data of this one. I'm already in the company code. So here if we see, we're having the payment methods as C and T. So now this is not having the new payment methods that we have created. So I will give it as payment methods 1 and 2 as well. I am not mentioning any house bank here because I want the system to automatically pick the house bank based on the bank determination that we have given and the available amounts and everything. So once we are done with this, let us post an invoice and let us check various combinations of errors that we will get if any of these conditions that we have met is not satisfied by the payment run program. So in order to show you the master data requirements, we have maintained that there should be the postal code, the post box number and the street address. So I will maintain it as street 1, so house number as 11 and save it. If we go to the payment transactions, so we also mentioned that the bank account is mandatory for both the wire transfer and for the check. So for the wire transfer or the bank transfer, we mentioned that the post box number is not mandatory. So while we test that one, we will remove the value from the post box so that we can check what will be the situation, what error will be thrown by the system. We go to the display. Okay, so now I will post an invoice. This is the vendor. I will take it as today's date or yesterday's date for payment method 1. So what is the maximum amount that we have given in this one? So let me go to PZP, payment methods in country or payment methods in company code. For check, I have given the minimum amount as 1000 and the maximum amount as 100,000. So let me go and create a invoice using the payment method 1 with amount that is less than 1000. So let us see what happens. I will post it onto cash account. So under payment tab, we need to mention what is the payment method. So payment method, I will take it as 1. I am not giving any house bank. So here if you see, this document is not yet due for payment because we are having 30 days for the due date. So I'm still posting this one. The due date is on 21st of next month. So let me go to FPL1N and let me check the due date. So we have posted this 19009. The amount is 100 and this is not yet due. So if we open this one, we can see the baseline date is this one which I have posted. Okay, we add due date. So here if we see for this particular document, the due date is 21/8/2020. Now I will go to F110, payment method 1, not due. So company code is AVIN, payment method is 1, and next posting date I will take it as 37. So this 37 does not consider the payment, the invoices that are due in the next one. So this is the vendor. So let me select this particular document which ends with 9. Save. So I have entered the parameters. Now we will run the proposal. So if you see the proposal, we are getting the error that the company codes do not appear in the proposal. So although this error is not very clear, it does not say anything about what is the error actually about. And here also in the proposal log also it does not give any specific details on why we received the error, but out of the various possibilities, in our case this error is because of the due date of the particular document for which we are trying to make the payment. We discussed that this document is not yet due. So what I will do is I will change the payment terms now so that this document is due immediately for payment. So here if you see, let me refresh this one. So if you see, the due date has been changed for this document. It is now the same date 22/7/2020, which is in the past, which is equal to the baseline date. So I will go edit proposal, delete the proposal, and I'll run the proposal once again. So now let us display proposal. It again is giving the same error message, because now the possibility is that for this particular payment method we have given the minimum amount of payment is 1000, but this document is of just 100. So now let me go back, let me delete the proposal, save. So I will change this minimum amount to 1, save. Let us run the proposal once again. So if we see, now this particular invoice has been successfully picked up in the proposal run. So let us check what house bank has been picked by this one. So as per the bank determination, we will verify whether it is as expected or not. So if we see, we have used the payment method as 1 and the currency as INR, and the bank that has picked is HDFC1 and the account ID is HDFC1. So let us go to bank determination. For this particular company code, what is the ranking order? So if it is a payment method 1 and the currency is INR, first thing is it should select the house bank HDFC1. So successful, HDFC1 is correct. Now let us go to the bank accounts. So for payment method 1, if it is HDFC1 and the currency is INR, the account ID should be HDFC1. So the account ID is also HDFC1. So we are correct. So let us go ahead and make the payment run. So let us check the payment. So if we see, the payment account that is picked up here is C012. So if we see, this is the subjail account C012. So later on, during the reconciliation of the subjail account with the bank account, then this bank account which we given in the house bank, which is C007, I think, that will be credited. So let us go back. So in our first execution, we saw what error message that the system can throw if the minimum amount for the payment method is not maintained in the or the invoice is not meeting the minimum payment amount requirement for the payment method. So let us try other variants. So now let me post an invoice again. So this time I will let us go to the minimum amounts or the available amounts. So for HDFC1 and HDFC1, the available amount is 1. Let us post an invoice which is having an amount more than the available amount in the bank. So I will give the amount as 2 million. Payment method I will give it as 1, and the payment terms I will change it. Okay, I think, 1 second, I think we have already posted it. Okay, we have posted an amount with 2 million. So let us go to F110. I will create a new payment run. So in the parameters, we will select this new document. Here it is 1 2. Save, and let us run the proposal. Now in display proposal, although the invoice has been picked up, it is an error message. So let us see what is the error. The error just says there is no valid payment method found. So unfortunately in FBZP or an F110, the error messages that we get are not very clear. There might be various issues behind the same error message. So in this case, the error message is because of the available amount. So how can we verify? So let us go. I will change the available amount to 5 million and I will save it. So let me go back to the same payment run. I will delete the proposal and I will again run the proposal. So let us see if the system can pick up this time. So now it has been successfully picked up. So this is how the available amounts in the bank impact the payment run. So I'll go ahead and I'll make the payment. The payment is successful. So now we have verified for one variant. We verified if there is an available amount or not, and we have verified with the maximum or the minimum amount of that particular payment method, and we also saw for one house bank in what order the house banks are determined. So now let us go back again to the same ranking order. So in the ranking order for the same payment method, we mentioned that if there are no funds available in HDFC 1, then it should pick up Access 1. So now let us go to available amounts. So I'll again make this as 1 million, but whereas in Access 1, I will make it as 2 million and save. I will post a new invoice. So I will post it as 1.5 million. Payment method as 1. And I will change the payment terms to 1. Save. So let us create a new payment run. The company code, payment method is the same for the same vendor. The document was 13. Document number, I will choose this as 13. Save. So let me run the proposal. Proposal is successful. Document has also been successfully processed. Now let us see the house bank. So if you see, the house bank is Access 1. So earlier, for the same combination of payment method and the currency, the house bank is picked up as HDFC 1, but whereas now it is picked as Access 1, because as per the ranking order that we have mentioned in this one, in the bank determination, we mentioned that if there are no available funds in HDFC 1, then it should pick up Access 1. So if you go to the available amounts, in HDFC 1, it is only 1 million, whereas our invoice is of 1.5 million, and in Axis Bank, there are enough funds, which is 2 million, and hence it has picked up Axis 1 as the house bank for this particular invoice. In the previous case, where we had posted an invoice of 2 million and HDFC was having an available amount of only 1 million, if we remember, the amount available in Axis Bank was only 100,000. So that is why, even though it tried for HDFC and it did not have the sufficient funds, it also tried for Axis Bank. But even when Axis Bank was not having enough funds, the payment run had failed. So that is the reason we needed to change the available amount in HDFC to 5 million in the previous case. So now let us check another variant. Let us now go to a different currency. So in the same payment method, I will use USD currency, and let us check if Axis 1 is picked up or not. So now if the available funds are available in Axis 1, then it should first pick Axis Bank, and next it should go to HDFC Bank. And if we see the bank accounts for the payment method 1, Axis 1 and USD, the first account ID is Axis dollar, and similarly for HDFC, it is HDFC dollar. So let us try. So I will mention as USD 1, and the amount I'll post it as $5,000. Payment method as 1 and payment terms as 1. Save it. Now let us create a new payment run. Okay, I will just complete the previous one so that we do not receive any error message while we are trying to execute a new payment proposal. Okay, I will put it as some payment method 1 USD 1. Selection. I will select this new document number 14. Yes. Save it. Now let us run the proposal. Proposal is successful. So here if you see, it is Axis 1 and Axis dollar. So this is as per the configurations. So now we have a clear understanding on how the bank determination works, how the ranking order works, how the bank accounts work, and how the available amounts work. So now let us go to another payment method. So before that, I will just complete the payment run for this one. Payment run is successful. Okay. Now let us switch to the second payment method. So before we post this one, let us go to the settings and let us check what are the mandatory fields for this particular payment method. So we have mentioned that the account number is required in order to make payments on this payment method. So I will go to the business partner. Let us go to the payment transactions and let me delete this entry. So now we are not having any account details mentioned in this one. So I'll go to the display mode. Now let us create a payment method of 1000 INR. Okay. Payment method as 2 and payment terms as 1. Save it. Now let us create payment method 2. Payment method as 2, vendor, document is 16. So let me run the proposal. So if you see now, the proposal is in error. Let us see what is the error message. It says no valid payment method found. This error message is again same as what we saw earlier. As we discussed, the error messages in F110 are not that clear. So we need to verify each and every configuration or each and every condition behind this particular combination of payment run and house bank and everything. So let us try also displaying the proposal log. It just says the same thing. It says that there is no valid payment method procedure for this one. So as we know what is causing the issue, let us go back to the business partner, and now let us add the business partner account details. Save. So now I will go back. I will delete the proposal. I'm not sure if this works because this is something that needs to be picked up from the document, but let us try running the proposal once again. Okay, it is successful. So it has successfully picked up from the business partner. So what is the house bank? It is access 1 and it is access 1. So this is what as we have discussed earlier, but let us again verify. So if we go back to the bank determination, in the ranking order for the payment method 2 for the currency INR, we said that first it should verify access 1. Perfect. So now we also understood how uh, this conditions and the payment methods in country also impact the F110 payment. So now let us try another combination. We will check what are the different settings that we have done. So we have already verified the available amounts. So we verified what is the bank account and the bank sub account that is being picked up. We verify how the ranking order also impacts the payment run. So yes, let us verify another uh, condition. So for this payment method 2, let us check what are the currencies that we have allowed. So we mentioned that only INR is allowed for the payment method 2. So now let me post an invoice for the same payment method 2, but with USD, and let us see what error does the system throw. So I'll mention it as 1000 US dollars. The payment tab. I will choose the payment method as 2. I'll change the payment terms. So document 17 is posted. Okay, let me complete the payment run for this one. So now I'll go to a new payment proposal, and the parameters payment method is 2. Document number is 17. Save. So we are running the proposal. So if we see again, we are receiving an error message. Let us check. The error message is again the same. It just says there is no valid payment method found. So now we know what is the error message. So what I will do, I will go here. I will change this one. I'll go to 2. I'll go to currencies allowed. I'll create a new entry, US dollar, and save it. So now we will again go back. Let us delete this proposal and run the proposal again. So if you see again, now it is successful. So now we also saw how the available currencies or the permitted currencies in the payment method impact the payment run. So these are the configurations that we require for automatic payment program. So just to recap, in FBZP, we need to define the company codes. We need to define what is the sending company code and what is the paying company code. And we need to define the necessary amounts for this one, or any cash discounts or any other properties of payments. And after that, we need to create a payment method in the country level, and that we need to use it in the company code level by using this option, payment methods in company code. Here we define what are the permitted countries, permitted currencies, and what are the amounts that we are using in this payment method in the company code level. And then we need to do the bank determination. In the bank determination, we are defining what is the ranking in which the house banks are to be picked up, and what are the bank account IDs that needs to be used, and what are the various available amounts for each bank account. And if necessary, you can also define the settings for the value dates based on the combination of payment method and the house bank. And coming to the house banks, this is something a new concept from ECC. So we need to create house banks, and we need to create accounts, the bank accounts, by using the bank account management, which is the Fury screen. We can create the house bank from GUI, but the bank accounts we need to create it again from Fury. So we need to use either manage bank account or the manage bank tiles in Fury to create this one. So we are using either manage banks or the manage bank accounts. So this is what we have discussed. So if you are having any questions, please feel free to comment and we can discuss further. Thank you.